Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Chelsea, and today I am so excited for this video because I will be reviewing both the Natasha Denona Love Palette and the Natasha Denona Love Glow Cheek Palette. These products, first of all, I love the brand. I have yet to try something from the brand that I did not like in terms of like her eyeshadows, her cheek palettes. So when I saw this, I was like, they're already mine. Like, they're already at my house. They just don't know that they're there yet. So, first of all, I didn't want this video to be crazy long. So, I am going to just be doing reviews and demonstrations with both of these palettes, but expect 2 videos in the next couple of days where I'm going to be doing comparisons with this palette and other palettes that I have that I feel are similar to this one, and then also another comparison video between this cheek palette and then the other 2 cheek palettes from the brand. So before we get into that, I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend some time with me. If this is your first time here, definitely stick around. Don't you leave here and not subscribe, because I'm telling you, you'll be happy that you do. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for constantly supporting my channel and still being here with me and supporting me. It really does mean a lot to me, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. So let's get into this video. All right, so let's start off with the eyes. All I have on my face is some foundation. So like I said, here is the Natasha Denona Love Palette. I love the packaging of it. Just for reference, it is the same size as the Natasha Denona Sunrise palette. So holding them up like this, you'll see that they are the exact same size, and they also contain the same amount of product, which is good. And then when you open up the palette, you've got a big mirror on one side, and then these are the shades, and I think these shades are so pretty. So in terms of product details, it says that this is a seductive palette that can be used for playful, bold creations or effortlessly wearable everyday looks. It's free of parabens, and the product is also cruelty-free. And so in this palette, so you have 2 duochrome shades, which are the shades Giving and Pure Love, which is right here. Can you see that? Just right here. And then we also have, if you're familiar with her creamy matte formula, you have 2 of them in this palette, Dream and also this darker shade called Commitment. It doesn't actually say this on her website or on Sephora's website which shades are actually creamy mattes, because I was looking for them, but I did watch Lynn's video, and I will link her video down below. She does very thorough, detailed reviews. Like, she is the person I go to when I want to know, like, what is the nitty gritty on this. And so she was the one that pointed out the creamy matte formula shades. And then in terms of the rest of the matte shades, they are more of her traditional matte shades, and then you have some shimmers. So I'm going to insert some swatches here so you can see what the shades look like. I think that each one of these shades is just stunning. Right off the back, if you don't like pinks and purples, you're not going to like this palette. So even if you think it's pretty, if you know you don't wear those shades, don't even bother getting the palette. So I'm going to bring you in so we can get straight into the demonstration. So I'm going to go in with my Anastasia primer and prime my lids. So we are now good and close. I want to do 2 looks, potentially 3, just depends on how I feel after I do this second look. So that's the goal. So let's start off with this matte shade right here called First. And I'm going to go in with a Sonia G Blender Pro brush, and we're going to let this be our transition shade. Now I'm going to go in with the shade called Soul, which is right here. And same brush. And I'm going to use this as my transition shade. Ooh, that is much more pigmented than I thought it would be. Let's go into this shade called Heart, this red shade right here, because what's a love look without a red color? Now I will say, upon swatching this shade Heart, it took a few swatches to build up the shade and the pigment to how it looks in the pan. and I feel like I'm getting that same, yeah, I'm getting the same thing here. It's not necessarily patchy, but it's just a very lightly pigmented shade, which can be a little misleading because looking at it in the pan, I initially thought like, oh, this is gonna be like, you know, a very bold bright red, and you really have to build the pigmentation up for it to look like that. Going with the shade called Passion right here. This is a metallic shade that I'm about to apply on my lids. Not applying anything else to the brush just because I want to see the pigmentation of the shadow. Wiping this brush off and using the same brush, I'm going to go in with the shade called Giving right here and add that in the inner corner of my eye. And this is one of the duochrome shades. I want to go in back with my Blender Pro, and I want to go in with the shade Intense right here, and just use a little bit of it, blending out the edge of my eyes. So far, I haven't had any major fallout, which is really good, especially from the metallic shade. I thought I would have had a little bit more fallout, so that's good. Then for my inner corner highlight, I want to go in with the shade called Transparent right here. So now I'm going to go in with the shade called, let's go in with this shade called Valentine right here. Looks more like a cool toned pink. And we're going to use that as our transition color. Let's go in. I was using my Sungji Blender Pro brush for that first shade. Let's go in with my Wayne Gauze 26S brush, and let's go in with the shade called Trust, this matte shade right here. And let's concentrate that right on this outer edge of the eye. This was another shade that was like Heart. That was just, it took a lot to build up the swatch on my arm. And with this shade, I feel like I'm having to do the same thing. Now I will admit, this brush is a little damp. I just washed this brush about an hour ago, so it is a little damp, and I will say that, which I feel like it is looking a little bit more patchy than it probably would, but I can definitely still tell that I'm having to build the shade up. Just to be transparent, I'm literally pulling up my lid so I can get all of my creases of my eye. I didn't have this issue with this side with that shade Heart, but I am having this issue with this shade called Trust. I want to go in with the shade called Commitment right here. Now I'm going to go in with this creamy matte shade called Dream. The shade Commitment that I just used is also a creamy matte shade. Then I'm going to go in with the shade called Blind right here. Use that as my inner corner. Did not expect Blind to be so blinding, but I guess the name, guess the name didn't lie, huh? Guys, I'll be honest, I am not loving this eye look at all. I'm not. I didn't want it to be this dark. Let's do this. Let's try to lighten it up. Let's go in with the shade called Pure Love right here, and I'm going to add that to the center of the lid because it's just too dark for my liking. Didn't expect it to be this dark. And I did get a little bit of fallout with that duochrome shade, so I'm just gonna wipe it off. I am going, oh, I do not like this eye look at all. All right, I'm gonna leave it here because I am gonna go in with a third eye look simply because I don't like this eye look at all, and I cannot end my video with this eye look like this. But here are the two looks that I created. I'm not gonna show the third look just because I don't want this video to be too long. I'm just gonna do a third look and then come back so that we can play with the cheek palette. But this eye look I like. I think it looks nice and it's pretty. This eye look I don't like, and it's not simply because of the colors, it's because of the formula of those shades and how they performed. So I'll give you more detail about that when we get to the end of the video. So I will be back. Okay, so I finished off my eyes and I like this look a lot better than the two that that purple one I created. I was fine with the other one. It was just, I was like, I can't do it anymore. So now let's get into the face palette. So here is the packaging of the Natasha Denona Love Glow cheek palette. This is so pretty. The glitter just goes all across the packaging. I think it's really gorgeous. It is the same size as the other two face palettes that she does have, and I do have those as well. But like I said, I'll be dedicating another video showing comparisons to this palette with the other two. In terms of formula-wise, it is very similar to the Tan Bronze and Glow. And so what I mean by that is, here is the inside packaging of the palette. So just like in the Tan Bronze and Glow palette, we have this cream shade that she likes to call her Glow Cream Base. Let me see, here we go. So here's the Glow Cream Base color. And then just like in the Tan Bronze and Glow palette, we have the Super Glow shade here. And then we have this Glow Impact powder here. What is different between this palette and the Tan Bronze and Glow, and of course the Bloom Blush and Glow, is this shade right here. This is what she calls her Diamond Powder shade. And so I'll insert swatches now so you can see the formula of it. And the Diamond Powder is definitely a glitter formula. Like when you swatch it, and hopefully you all saw it within the swatches, it's basically just straight glitter. It is not an actual, it's a highlight, but it's a glitter highlight, if that makes sense. The glitter is smooth, it's not chunky glitters, but it is glitter. So right off the back, if you don't like glitter eyeshadows, glitter highlighters, that shade will probably turn you off. Like when I opened up the palette, I was like, ooh, that's glitter. It didn't look like that in the pictures, but it is glitter. So I'm gonna start off with my Wayne Goss 10 brush, and I'm going to dip into the Glow Cream Base to start putting some color on my cheeks. I don't have any bronzer or anything on my face. I did put my under eye concealer on and I set that, but I did not set in this area here where I knew I would be applying this cream base. So let's do this. Once again, I did watch Tara Lynn's video, and she did not have the best experience with this Glow Cream Base. And to be honest, I hardly ever use the Glow Cream Base in either of the other palettes. So here it is, and I think this is a really pretty, just a light wash of color. Yeah, I think this looks really pretty actually. Okay. This actually shows up to me better than the Tan Bronze and Glow Cream Base, which is good. I might actually use this again if I want like a creamy blush shade. And I'm not trying to pick up too much because since it is very emollient. Like when I was doing the swatches, it is extremely emollient. So I'm trying not to pick up too much of the cream blush because I don't want it to pick up my foundation underneath. And so far, I don't think it is picking up the foundation underneath. I don't feel like I see any patchiness of the blush, but looking at it from afar, this glow is pretty. Ooh. I'm happy because let me tell y'all, that eyeshadow palette put me in a funk, and I am not even gonna lie. It really did. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here because I don't wanna do too much. All right, now I'm gonna go in, let me go in with my actual favorite blush brush to go into the Super Glow color right here. So I want to apply this shade all over my cheeks, just see how it looks as an actual blush. This palette right off the back, I feel like is honestly almost strictly a highlight palette. Because these shades they look like more highlighters to me than they do blushes. And maybe that's what she was going for. She did call it a Love Glow cheek palette. So maybe this is supposed to be more of like a highlight palette versus a actual like blush palette. I know when the first time I tried the Tan Bronze and Glow palette, I was a little disappointed because I thought it was gonna be like the Bloom Blush and Glow palette, and that one was more like a blush palette, whereas the Tan Bronze and Glow was more like a highlight bronzer palette. And I love it now that I know how to use that shade, because initially it looked like it was supposed to be like a blush shade, but it looks better on me as a bronzer shade. So now with this one, I'm like, maybe this palette is really formulated as a highlight palette. For me, I can wear this shade, the Super Glow shade, as a blush. I think it is working pretty good as a blush, but I am definitely glowy cheeks, which I don't mind. You all know I like me a glowy blush. But if you don't like an overly glowy blush, but you do like the tones of these highlighters, because they're more like your peachy coral tones, you really might like this as just a highlight palette. So I think if you think of it like that in mind, you may not be disappointed. Is okay, I just have basically one possible blush base here, and the rest of these are highlights. I think if you think of it that way, you may not be disappointed. Okay, now we're gonna take this Glow Impact shade, which is, not to blind y'all, sorry, this shade right here, and I'm gonna use that as my actual highlight. These shadows, these highlighters so far, I do feel like if you have texture, it's going to emphasize it. Like I have like a little acne bump right here, and I feel like it is emphasized a little bit, just as an FYI. And this shade, or this formula, is basically identical to the formula of the Tan Bronze and Glow in terms of you're getting that beautiful high shine. And I'm loving these undertones. I love like peachy pink highlights, especially when it's a really good formula of a highlight. So I'm really loving these. And that is stunning. That is stunning. This is definitely not for the faint at heart. If you're somebody who likes subtle highlights, don't even, because I'm not saying you can't apply these subtly. You can, but I feel like this is a highlight palette. I'm just looking at my face in my mirror that's further away. I feel like this highlight palette is for those who don't mind that blinding highlight. Like I want to beam. Like I can already tell you that I like this. I really do like this because I like highlights like this. I like my highlight to be prevalent, noticeable. And I think this, like I said, now that I am looking at this as a highlight palette, I'm good. If I were looking at this as like an actual blush palette, I would be disappointed in terms of only one of these shades, which is really right here. I guess these two I could use as a blush, but if I don't want to go for like glowy cheeks, I can't use this as a blush. I can really just use this as highlight. I also feel like if you have deeper complexions, it depends on how deep your complexion is. If you have like a nice rich chocolate complexion, I would say go with the Bloom Blush and Glow. If you have about my shade, maybe a little bit deeper, then I think this palette will go for you if you're looking at this for a highlight palette. I would say if you're like in the tan to light complexion, then I do think you could most definitely use these two shades right here as blushes, and then these could be your complementary highlights. If you were extremely fair, I don't know if this would work for you simply because there's a lot of gold undertone. So if your undertone is fair but more gold, then this could also, I think, work for you as well in terms of just you would be applying it with a little lighter of a hand. Okay, so that's that. Let's lastly go in with this diamond powder right here. And I'm actually just gonna use my finger because like I said, this is just straight up glitter. And I'm just going to apply that right here. Do you guys see that? This is pretty. Is this every day? Absolutely not. But is this like evening time, glam, maybe, you know, birthday celebration. I'm trying to be real cute. Yes, that is exactly what this is. And I think this, I haven't tried it with a brush, but I think maybe you could get a little bit more control of the glitter if you were to use your finger, because you can just pinpoint it where you want to apply it. Or if you got like a really precise application or a really small precise brush, you could probably use a brush to do that. But I think that looks really pretty. I hope you all can see the glitter. Let me get up a little close because I want you all to be able to see the glitter. But do you all see that glitter right there? And then here it is on this side. So yeah, this, I mean, I'm not disappointed with this. Okay, so I added a little bit of bronzer and a lip. Now let's chat. All right. I pretty much have given you all of my thoughts on this Love Glow cheek palette. Like I said, I think if you can get in your head that this is more so of a highlight palette. I think if you get it and you feel like you would like these tones and they would work for you, I think you would really enjoy it. This would be very complimentary to, you know, another matte blush. So lay down the matte blush that you want to actually wear as your blush, and then maybe use these shades around that to create a very beautiful highlight. I am loving the glow on my cheeks. I think it looks beautiful. It's the type of glow that I go for when I really want a glowy cheek. This, like I said, I was actually really shocked about this, that it worked well and actually showed up with some type of pigment on my face. I think if you go in with this shade and you just use a little bit of it, however you want to apply it, be very gentle with it, because it does have the ability, or it does have the potential to potentially pick up the foundation underneath. I think for me, I didn't put down a lot, and I was going in just kind of lightly tapping this cream shade into my cheeks, and I think that's about as much as you can do. You're not gonna be able to build this shade up simply because it is so emollient. So Tara, you were right on that. On to this palette. This palette was such a huge disappointment for me, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. Like I said, I like this look that I have on my eyes right now. Between the 3 looks that I did today, I have used every shade in the palette, which was cool, because that's always good. It was so hard to build these shades up, especially the mattes, but even some of these shimmers. So these creamy mattes, they are definitely, because they're creamy, you have to build them up. Like, you have to build them up. I actually like this shade though, which is why I have it on my eyes again. I like the shade, but I found that I had to build up the pigment of the shade. I felt like it allowed the shade to be more patchy. Like there was a greater chance for patchiness. And I feel like if you look right here and you look right here, I don't have an even blend of that shade on both sides. This shade Heart, oh, I just wish it would look like this upon first swatch and upon first application. It takes so much to build this shade up to be what it needs to be. That is on the outer edge of my eye, and you can barely tell I have anything there. And I can't even tell you how many times I had to apply and reapply this shade to even be what it was. And I think that's what's so frustrating about, you know, it was this shade Dream, Heart, this shade Trust. Oh my freaking gosh. This shade was the most patchiest shade I probably have ever worked with. And it's such a disappointment because this is $65. This is not cheap at all. And I was so excited because I love this color scheme. I love pink and purple eyeshadows, and I just had such high expectations because I thoroughly enjoy the Sunrise palette. Like, if I'm just being dead honest, I want to return this. I do. Am I going to return it? I don't know. I really don't. But I want to, because I don't think for $65 we are getting our money's worth. I do not recommend this palette unless you're just like, love this color scheme. I don't mind working with the shadows and being patient with them, because that's what you have to do to get the look that you want. You have to be patient with this eyeshadow palette. And even with some of these shimmers here, you know, with the duochrome, I was expecting like a punch of an eyeshadow. And yes, I can wet my brush, I can use my finger, but sometimes I don't want to do that. I just want to dip my brush in there and apply it, and I just want pigment. I want to see the shimmer. And with both of these duochromes, I had to build up the shimmer. The only shadow that did not disappoint was the shade Bling. And y'all, this shade y'all saw in the first one, it just gives right off the bat pigmentation. If she could have allowed for the rest of these shimmers to have the same pigmentation as this one, we could have maybe potentially started to salvage this palette. But with you having to have patience with the majority of the mattes, patience with the majority of the shimmers, I just feel like for $65, I didn't pay for patience. And not especially with Natasha Denona. I have a few, I'm looking at my other palettes, I have a few of her palettes, and I have never been as disappointed with the formula as I have with this one. Now, there are some good mattes like Valentine, Intense, and Soul. And First, these mattes I felt like worked really well, but out of, let's see, this is a 15 pan palette, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shades that I think worked well out of the 15. That, I can't justify the price on that. So I do not recommend this eyeshadow palette. I do recommend this Love Glow cheek palette if you look at it as a highlight palette. So that is my long review. I'm hoping I can condense this video down to like 20 minutes, but if it is over 20 minutes, I'm really sorry. I just wanted to be honest and give you, as much detail as I could about the eyeshadow palettes and the cheek palettes, because they're not cheap. And if you're gonna spend your money on these products, I want you to know what you're getting yourself into. So yeah, those are my thoughts. That's it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of these two palettes in the comment section below. I'd love to get that conversation going, especially if you have recommendations on how to make them work. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really hope to see you in my very next video. Bye, guys.